That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, where we break down District 3 athletics and activities week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. My name is Brandon Baney. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter account. You can also listen to this podcast at IdahoSports.com or wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts. Let's bring in our Treasure Valley expert, busy guy lately, Logan Green. What's up, LG?
Hey, Brandon. Yeah, busy is the understatement of the year, I feel like, for my past week. It's I had a day from where the other day. A car just like died in the road, and just everything. And then it's like, oh, and I got to go broadcast a game. So it's been a fun few days here in the Green household.
Yeah, and you've been on the call for some really exciting basketball games as of late. Logan, the action in the 2A Western Idaho Conference, both boys and girls, has been so fantastic. I had to pull out my Cole Valley Christian basketball sweatshirt.
Yeah, I mean, it is like you said, what an exciting conference, both on the boys and girls side of it. I don't know, is there a closer league right now anywhere in the state on boys and girls side? And I mean, we saw it last night. There was 2 broadcasts right here in Idaho Sports. I know we usually start with the girls side, but just real quick on the boys, we did two of the 2 games that involved 4 of the top 5 teams in the state, right? New Plymouth and Cole Valley, Ambrose and Melba. Those 4 were separated by a total of 5 points last night. I mean, that just shows you there's no off night with these, and there's some more conversations to be had about those 4 as we go along here.
Yeah, we get the question a lot, like, hey, how come you guys spend so much time in the 2A WIC? Well, because they welcome us with open arms, and they love it when we come to broadcast. We can't go broadcast a lot of places, but 2A WIC, they love having us there, and we love it's nice that the basketball is great this year, but the people are even better. So
oh yeah, it's everywhere I've been this year, Middleton, Parma, wherever, Ambrose, usually when we go there, Cole Valley, and everybody's just, I know you were talking to just 2A, but to everybody that we go to in the Treasure Valley is awesome. And we wish we could go more places. We really do. But thanks for welcoming us into those places we've been able to get to this year.
For sure. And so we will dive deeper into the WIC for boys and girls basketball here in just a moment. Logan, to start the show off today, though, we have to start with a story that happened outside of the athletic arena. I don't always like starting there, but it's important enough that we have to talk about it. At the Skyview Duels wrestling competition this past weekend, an assistant coach for Rocky Mountain High School entered the field of play, as it were. And so basically, we talked about this on the Idaho Mat Chat Prepcast on Tuesday night. We didn't really go into a ton of specifics because we wanted to let the process play out with the Board of Control and District 3 and the appeals process and everything like that. So we kind of kept things generic, but now the District 3 Board of Control has ruled on this situation, so we can dive into it a little more detailed here, Logan. But essentially, an assistant coach for Rocky Mountain, Russell Brunson, he's a coach, and like so many coaches and across all sorts of sports, he has a son that competes on the team, right? So he's a parent first, coach second. His son was competing against a wrestler from NISA, and this video has been making the rounds on social media, and you can kind of see when you watch the video, it looks like the kid from Rocky Mountain, might be in some sort of a chokehold. It's hard to tell from, this is what Coach Brunson is saying, and he was right there watching on the video. It's zoomed out. It's hard to tell, but Coach Brunson is saying his son was wrestling. The NISA kid had him in an illegal chokehold. The referee wasn't doing anything to stop it. He was trying to get the referee's attention. And then finally that rush of panic that happens when you're a parent and you see your child, in danger, Papa Bear mode kicked in. He went onto the mat, separated the two, and then it did look like he hit the NISA kid once or twice just looking at the video. And so it's unfortunate because everybody that I've talked to says that Coach Brunson is a stand-up guy. He's dedicated his life to the sport of wrestling. He's been a coach for, almost 20 years or 20 plus years. But unfortunately, and that can be true, right? That can be true that Coach Brunson is a great guy and is a good coach, but it can also be true that in a brief moment, it only took 2 to 3 seconds. He crossed that line, and because of that, there are consequences to your actions. And so the District 3 Board of Control ruled that he will not be allowed to coach any sport in Idaho for the rest of his life.
This is Brandon. This is tough because, this is one reason I know we're in quote media, but sometimes the media can be frustrating, right? Because, attention grabbers. I've seen a couple different headlines, places where coach hits student. Like, okay, way to blast it like that. It's a little, and so, emotionally you get people that are, already, well, no, you don't hit. And this is such a tough situation, Brandon, because do you hit people? No. End of story. Right. But like, as a dad myself, if somebody is hurting my kid in a panic moment, like I don't know what it's so tough. It's just a tough situation, especially if you feel that your child is being hurt. I know it's easy for keyboard warriors to have their opinion on it. And it seems like the board probably made the best decision based on what happened, but we're all human, right? And how would you react? I don't think anybody can say that if they were panicked that their kid was in danger. That being said, we don't, like I tell my kids, we don't hit each other. And this is one thing I tell my kids too, is that they fight. I've got 3 boys. They all fight with each other all the time. It's just like DNA, right? And they, if they hurt one, they get in trouble. And I say, look, I'm upset with you because you hurt my son. I know that you are my son, but my other son here is hurt, and you did that. I don't want people to hurt my kid. So, I can see that side of it with him, that someone's hurting my kid and I need to stop it. But and we were talking off air. I don't know if you can ever enter the field of play in that situation and get away with it and it be okay, even if you viewed it as not okay, even though we're human. And I'm sure he feels as sick as anybody could feel sick about it right now. Like, nobody is probably feeling worse than him. But just a completely unfortunate situation.
Yeah, I think, and of course, here we are Thursday morning quarterbacking the situation.
Yeah.
The move is to go to the referee, not but again, in Coach Brunson's mind, he thought his son was in danger of passing out, and so he sprung into action. I totally understand. You mentioned the media. There's definitely a way to cover this. The Idaho Statesman did a great job covering this story. They presented the Board of Control side, they presented Coach Brunson's side, and they just put the facts out there. They didn't make any judgments. On the other side, the newspaper that covers NISA, the Argus Observer, I'm going to put them on blast. I don't know if you read their recounting of the events.
No.
It's bad. Here's the headline. NISA school district officials spring into action after athlete assaulted. I mean, the headline right there tells it all.
It's headlines, and that might be true, right? That might be true, but people, we are emotional creatures, right? There's a lot of people that don't read anything other than a headline, and then they spew about it like they know all the facts, right? And so there's people that are going to read that and take that, and like you said, the Statesman just does a great job in general, overall, and that was just what they did was great on it.
Yeah, and then continuing to go into the NISA article here on the Argus Observer, there is a possibility that a lawsuit could be filed, right? Criminal charges could be pending still in this situation as well. The Argus Observer then goes into 2 paragraphs about what Brunson does professionally, because he's a volunteer coach. He's got a day job, and they talk about his Instagram account, and he's got 1.3 million followers. He's an entrepreneur. People pay him $25,000 per year to get coached. And this is where this newspaper is setting up the narrative that, oh, he's well funded, and let's go after him and get his money in a lawsuit. Like, they're not even trying to hide it. And it's just, that is poor media, unfortunately.
Yeah, I always struggle in this position because I don't want to say anything bad about anybody. Like, that's not what I want to do, because I don't want anybody to say anything bad about me. Like, I make mistakes, and I don't want to. I don't know. I don't get the appeal of just digging people into holes. Why don't we bring people up out of them, right? Positive stuff that comes. Obviously, when I took my media class in college, it was news is things that aren't normal, right? That are abnormal in a normal world. And so obviously that is news, because that's not a normal situation, but how we approach it can always, again, 2 sides of a coin, I guess, right?
Yeah, the Argus Observer, terrible job, bad job. I'll call it out. I mean, and if they want to dispute that, I mean, they can't. But here's Paul Kingsbury in the chat. The most embarrassing moment of my life is when I ran out onto the field during a flag football game when my son was slammed down to the ground after just coming back from a concussion. I was screaming at the poor high school aged referee in front of a few hundred people watching on the sideline before I realized what was going on. So I get how it happened, but unfortunately there are consequences. I feel bad for both sides.
Yeah.
And that's, like we said, there can be 2 truths. It can be true that Coach Brunson is an upstanding coach and a great guy, but it can also be true that in a moment of weakness, he crossed that line, and there have to be consequences for his actions. And so it's a situation where nobody really wins, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And I'm glad that the process has played out now, and everybody on social media that's judging and throwing stones, like, slow your roll a little bit, right? Let he who was without sin cast the first stone, as it says in the Bible. I mean, come on.
Keyboard warriors. That's who rules the world right now, Brandon.
Yeah. It's
like, I'm on this has nothing to do with it. I'm on the board of directors for the library in Middleton. And it just surprises me how many people will sit and just say all this garbage everywhere about everybody, but then don't actually do anything. You know what I mean? Like, don't volunteer to help kids, don't coach, like, it's so easy to say whatever you want behind a keyboard. It's just so easy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate situation, but it looks like for the moment it has been resolved. There might be other elements to this story, and we'll update you on that as it happens. But all right, let's get to what happened on the basketball court this past week, Logan. It was a busy week of action. Let's start on the girls basketball side of things, where we can talk about the 2A WIC, of course, and what's going on in the 3A Snake River Valley Conference. But let's start quickly with a 5A check-in of the Southern Idaho Conference. The story hasn't changed since last week. Boise is still running away with this thing. Middleton is firmly locked in at number 2. Let's start with Boise. The big news that came for the Brave this week is that Avery Howell was selected for the McDonald's All-American High School game. Just the second player in Idaho history to be selected. The other one, I mean, it's pretty good company. Destiny Slocum from Mountain View. She ended up being drafted into the WNBA.
Right. Those old memes that were like, I don't always do this, but when I do, I don't always watch the McDonald's All-American game, but when I do, it's because an Idaho player is in it. So be checking that out with Avery Howell in it. She is just a fun player to watch in general. If you haven't seen her play, you're going to have some opportunities here with the district tournaments and then the state tournament coming up. They got to punch their ticket, but I would safely bet that they will be there, and the best stars shine brightest on the big stage. And so it should be fun to watch what she's able to do over the next few weeks.
I will say she, of course, committed to USC, which breaks my heart as a UCLA fan. But sneakily, I don't know if you've been following women's college hoops at all this year, Logan, but unlike men's basketball, where the Pac-12 is abysmal, in women's hoops, the Pac-12 is like the best conference. I mean, the top 25 this week, UCLA is number 2, Colorado is number 3, Stanford is number 6, USC is number 11, Utah is number 16, and Oregon State is number 25. That is 7 schools in the top 25 and 5 in the top 15.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I know Colorado, right, they're 16-2. They have a loss on their record. They took a butt whooping to number 7. I don't know who's number 7. I don't know. I just know that that's who they lost to. I don't know,
And
but
that's Logan's NC State Wolfpack.
oh man, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah. No, the Pac-12 very good, and I mean, we have a lot of Idaho athletes that are going to be. Well, the Pac-12 won't exist next year, but we're gonna have some playing in the Big Ten. We've got some in the Big 12. We're gonna be very well represented in the major power conferences next year with a few more players coming up.
Yep, really exciting. So congratulations to Avery Howell. And Gary Jones in the chat. Yes, USC gets a top recruit from Idaho. Fight on. Yeah, of course, Gary, big USC fan, of course. Thanks, Gary. Yeah, so very exciting development for Avery Howell. And by the way, Boise, really good. Still just the one loss on the season. They're the number 1 team coming into the districts. Next week, Logan, we'll be breaking out the district tournament brackets and breaking down all of the action in girls' districts. Quickly, let's stop down at Middleton. They have pretty much wrapped up the number 2 seed as well. We featured their win over CUNA earlier this week on IdahoSports.com. And boy, they just appear to be peaking at the right time.
They do, because they lost to CUNA earlier in the year, and then they it's really funny. If you haven't been on our social media pages, they made a really cool reel and took some of our audio. It's awesome. It's really cool when people, how do they make those so fast and so good is always what I want to know. Because I'm over here like trying to cut things up, and it's an awesome video. Go look at it. They made it. It's terrific. But one thing Ryan Luke was saying on the broadcast, he's like, they came in here like they own the place, and they're acting like it too. They're playing like it, and that's exactly what I feel like I've seen from them over the last couple of weeks. Is they're really young, and like you said, they're peaking right now, and they recovered from a big loss earlier to CUNA, and it would be interesting when we get in districts to see if they can get to the championship game and maybe make up for that loss against Boise. That loss came very early in the year, so that'll be something to keep our eye on. They took care of business of everybody that's below them. Right now, Eagle is 3rd behind them, and they beat Eagle by 20 points. So the Vikings are on a roll right now.
Yep. All right. And that concludes the easy portion of what we're going to break down and analyze. Let's get into the difficult stuff here in girls hoops. 3A, Snake River Valley Conference, the current standings, Logan.
No, you can't get into this there is no solution here.
Yeah, this is for a mathematician like yourself. Solving for X here might be tricky. Fruitland is 7-2. Parma is 6-2. McCall Donnelly is 5-2. Weiser is 5-3. They have all just beaten up on each other. Fruitland has split with Parma this year. They have split with McCall Donnelly. They get Weiser in the regular season finale Friday night. You look at Parma, they've split with Fruitland. They've split with Weiser. They get McCall Donnelly on Saturday. I mean, it's hard making heads or tails of this. Fruitland had a huge win earlier this week over McCall Donnelly, 49-41, after they had lost by just 2 points to start the new year. And that was on the road in McCall. They went to McCall and got that win.
Yeah, it's huge, and they seem to be peaking at the right time. Again, we just talked about it with Middleton. Is that where Fruitland's at right now? Right, you recover from some early season losses and you turn them into wins on the backside. And right now they're sitting atop with 7 wins in the conference. And then these 4, this is something that's going to happen when we talk about the 2A WIC on the boys side. But somebody's not dancing in February from this group. Somebody's staying home. And that's the way it works, right? 2.5 bids come out. So 2 are in, and then somebody's got to go to a play-in. And it's such a mess in there, but somebody's going to get left out. But Weiser did themselves a huge favor the other night. I was there for the game. We broadcasted it right here on Idaho Sports. They went to Parma and got a win in overtime, hit a late three-pointer from the corner, a huge shot. I think it was Reinierson who hit the three in the corner to tie it up. Parma was not able to convert on the final possession. They go into overtime and win that in overtime. And now that keeps them in the race, and it brings Parma down a game. So now they're within striking distance. And so, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but I believe the way the bracket, at least in the past, has set up is if you're the top two, you get a bye. Those bottom four all play each other in that first round. You want the bye, because if you get a bye, you need to win one game, right? And you're in the finals, and that's what you want. So there's a lot to play for down the stretch, because it's the difference between a bye against a team that, a good team, or taking the night off. So just an extremely fun conference to keep an eye on right now.
Yep. And along with that, you get the home game too for the semifinals. The high seed hosts everything here. There's no neutral sites. And so
does that matter nowadays, Brandon? Weiser wins at Parma. Fruitland wins at McCall Donnelly. Maybe it's better to be on the road. I'm just kidding. It's just I'm being annoying, but yeah, it's you want to be at home, but man, the road teams have come away strong too.
2.5 bids to state available from District 3 this year. 4 really good teams. 1, possibly 2 will be stuck at home. The 3 big games to keep an eye on here over the next week. We've got on Friday, Fruitland at Weiser. Then we have on Saturday, we have Weiser at McCall Donnelly. Parma at McCall Donnelly. Mm-hmm. And then on Tuesday, McCall Donnelly at Weiser. Those are the 3 games that are going to decide this conference race here down the stretch. So good luck to everybody involved.
Lot to play for. And we had this conversation, the 3A girls basketball tournament could be wide open. There's been some unfortunate injuries for some of the better teams in Eastern Idaho. The number 1 team, Teton, lost this week. So is there maybe the window maybe a little more cracked open for one of these SRV teams to make some noise in a couple of weeks? I'm secretly hoping it's Parma that gets in, because the band director talked to us after the game and said if they make it to state, one of their guitarists in their band, they've got like this electrical band, like they've got electrical instruments, which is kind of cool. But he's going to do like a solo during the middle of the game. And so I'm secretly hoping it's Parma so that I can see that kid rock it out at the game.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, you talked about 3A basketball statewide for the girls. Snake River, defending champs. Riley Edlifson, their point guard, dealing with an injury. Doesn't look like, she's going to be available. Timberlake, the team that got to the championship last year, just beat Bonner's Ferry by only 7 points or 5 points, 66-61. Now, they did win the rematch 51-37, but Timberlake is a team that's missing its best player, Malia Miller. She's been out the entire season with an injury. She might be back for the postseason. We'll see. But they're a team that's dealing with injuries. Teton was undefeated until last week when they lost to last place Sugar Salem. This 3A basketball thing is wide open. And then in District 4, Logan, Kimberly beat Filer last week. It was Filer's first loss to a league opponent since 2019. Filer had gone on a 4-year run of dominance over 50 games, a 50-game winning streak against other teams in the league, and Kimberly finally beat Filer last week. So who knows?
And one thing to keep a note of, Brandon, late in the season, we talked about a lot of injuries. Weiser was deep. They had a lot of players that played. Some only played for 3 or 4 minutes, but they played in a game that went to overtime. They can put players in. Just going off this one game, Parma did not have a very deep bench. Everybody played, but there was only 3 subs. You get into foul trouble. That could, that's just something to keep an eye on. The deeper teams usually have more success. So we'll see if that sets up Weiser well to come from behind. They were kind of the ones lurking at the bottom, trying to claw their way back up. They've got some of the recipe ingredients there to do that.
Yep. 2A WIC, Logan, quickly, let's stop down and talk about Melba and Coal Valley Christian. Last Friday on IdahoSports.com, we watched the Mustangs win at home 60-46, avenging a loss earlier in the season by just 55-52. So Cole Valley and Melba split in the regular season. They will be the two favorites at districts. They both will get to state. The question is, will we get to see them match up again? We've seen them so often match up at state these last couple of years. Will we get that matchup again?
Yeah, and I know that some of the seeding has been kind of wonky in the past too, especially with these two, that there's been some so that'll be another storyline to keep an eye on. Where do they end up at state? If they both go, there could be an upset in the district tournament, but we like both of those teams probably to come out of it. But where do they end up? And gosh, I'm sure they are praying it's not against each other in the first round, that they'll be on opposite sides of the bracket. It would be super fun to see them both playing at the Idaho Center on Saturday.
Yeah, they do take into account district tournament results now in the Max Preps rankings to seed the teams at state. Right now, and again, this is not a clear indication, but Cole Valley Christian is 4th in the Max Preps rankings. Melba is 6th. So that would put them on opposite sides of the bracket. I have to disagree with the Max Preps rankings a little bit here.
That is that's atrocious, Brandon.
I know.
Have you seen Cole Valley's who they've played?
Yes.
Like Parma, McCall, Fruit. They got wins over the 3 top teams in the league above them.
Yes.
They lost to Grangeville. Okay. They beat Lapway, who is a dominant powerhouse. They Centennial, Mountain View, Rocky Mountain, Eagle. I'm sorry, get that out of here. That is garbage. That's garbage. That's not fair. That's no.
The teams ranked ahead of them, Bear Lake and Malad in particular. Bear Lake's 15-3, Malad is 16-4, but they have played a softer schedule than
Tell me who Malad's played, okay? Tell me where's the Fighting Lance Taylors from Malad? Like who have the Dragons played that's anywhere close to what Cole Valley's played? That's a joke.
And this is what is so frustrating. Grangeville is the number 1 team, and they should be. They're 14-2. They scheduled aggressively. They beat Melba and Cole Valley Christian to start the year.
Done.
Right? That makes sense. You're a good team. You played a hard schedule. You're won. But then Cole Valley and Melba get penalized for playing a good schedule. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason to this process at all. So anyways,
like they neither one of like they haven't lost to another 2A school except each other and Grangeville. Right? Like I'm looking at Cole Valley, right? They lost to Grangeville, who's the number 1, right? And then they lost to Melba. Okay. Those are their 2A losses. The rest of their losses, 5A Eagle, 5A Rocky Mountain. They beat 5A Mountain View, who it's a down year for Mountain View, right? They lost to 5A Centennial and to 3A Parma.
I don't get it.
I don't know. That's not right. But what do I know?
And meanwhile for Malad, not to nitpick here, but they have lost to North Fremont by 2, Bear Lake by 3, Bear Lake by 8, and then Soda Springs by 5. Their best wins are against Ambrose, I guess, Declo, some Wyoming schools, but I mean, nothing. I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but
I know East Idaho loves to play the victim with everything, but right now, I think the victim's right here in the WIC. So
yes, and we'll talk about that in boys hoops, especially. Okay, last thing to check in on and girls hoops. 1A D2 long pin conference. This is shaping up to be a nice 3-team race here between Council and Tri-Valley and Salmon River, still hanging on the periphery as well. Council 6-1 in league play. Tri-Valley's 5-1. Salmon River is 4-2. Tri-Valley's only loss came to Council by 2 earlier this year. Council's only loss came to Salmon River. So everybody's kind of beating each other down the stretch here. The big game. I mean, Tri-Valley, this is the most important stretch of their season, Logan, as they will host both Salmon River and Council here over the next couple of days. First up is Salmon River tonight, Thursday night, as we're recording this. And then one night after Friday night, Council comes to town. So Salmon River and Council at home, back-to-back nights in Cambridge. This could decide the league race right here.
Yeah, and Tri-Valley was a team that a lot of people liked coming into it, right? And they get that rematch tomorrow against Council. Council beat them by 2. And I think a lot of people like Tri-Valley. I mean, Tri-Valley just won the championship 3-ish years ago. I can't remember. 2021 was that when they won it?
Yeah.
And then Council won it last year, but Michaela Hart, right, moved from Council to Tri-Valley. So I think a lot of people naturally said, "Oh, well, they got a great player from Council. Let's give them the nod." But then they got the 2-point victory. So it's going to come down to a great game tomorrow night that we'll see who maybe gets the edge in this, and potentially, I'm guessing the winner probably ends up with the number 1 seed in the district tournament.
Yes. And so part of the deal too is, you get Michaela Hart, who transfers over. You get the younger Hart as well, Porter Hart, a sophomore. And then, Stella Warren has been a fantastic player for Tri-Valley this year as well, the junior. And so for Council, they've had some injuries in and out of the lineup. They've kind of steadied things, and it'll be a really fun, down the stretch here for the 1A D2 long pin conference in girls hoops. All right. We will take a look at what's going on in boys basketball right after a word from our sponsors. Yes, the Treasure Valley Prepcast is presented by No Vape Idaho. We'll be back right after this.
It's not like I'm doing drugs.
Nicotine can negatively impact the developing brain and make it more susceptible to other addictive substances. Students that vape are 3 times more likely to start smoking weed. And kids who share vapes can unknowingly inhale other drugs like THC, meth, or fentanyl, causing permanent lung damage, overdose, and even death. Be smart, don't start.
This is the Treasure Valley Prepcast presented by No Vape Idaho. Be smart, don't start. Logan, did you know we think of using vape pens recreationally? Oh, I'm so stressed. I'm on the edge. It's going to calm me down. It's going to calm my nerves. It's going to relax me. It actually has the opposite effect. It makes you more anxious, more stressed. It does more damage.
Yeah, and that's what Dr. Pepper does for me, right? When instead of hit a vape, try DP. It does wonders. But that's not a advertisement. But Brandon, it's really funny that you bring that specific point up, because an article came into my inbox. I get like a daily news article, and it was talking specifically about a guy that was 24 years old that lungs failed, never had smoked a cigarette in his life, but he vaped for a long time. Since he was a young 11, 12 years old. And he said that he was like, I'd get stressed out and I would do that. And I don't really know if I felt my calm, and I just kept doing it. And all of a sudden my lungs gave out. And the article was going in depth about how there really is no, like, people say it's safer, but in reality, that's not the case. And they were just saying there's a lot of unknowns. It's a news article. It wasn't a scientific peer reviewed, Johns Hopkins medical report. It's just the news. So it didn't go into too much depth, but just, briefly hit on the negative effects of it and how there's a lot more to it that we don't know about that is negatively affecting people. So like it says, be smart, don't start.
And if you want more tips and info and statistics about vaping, you can go to your favorite web browser, type in No Vape Idaho. That's no with a K, K-N-O-W, No Vape Idaho, and you'll find the site from there.
There's also tons of banners on our website too. So it's really easy. If you're on Idaho Sports looking at a schedule, just click the link and just browse the information. Even if you're not into vaping or thinking about it, it might help you or someone you know.
Yes. You can never have too much information out there about it. Vaping just makes no sense. And Chris in the chat says Max Preps makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
know. We did a big long special about Max Preps and all of the problems that have cropped up because of it. You can go back and watch that right here on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, or Twitter account. It was our Max Preps deep dive. We did that about a month ago. So. Yeah.
And we're not like this. It's not a personal jab at anything or it's a computer that is deciding And that's where everybody's issue is with the computer. And like, what is it? Like you look at that with Cole Valley and you say, what the heck is going on with that? That's what I want to know. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
It happened in volleyball on the other side where Melba had beaten Cole Valley 3 times and Cole Valley was seeded ahead of Melba. And you're just like, just using logic, that doesn't make sense. But anyways,
Yeah, we don't need to keep going. Skyview being the 4th seed at the state volleyball tournament as well. And we talked a lot about it. It's not fair to the team that is underseeded. It doesn't help the team that is actually the 5 seed in the tournament that now has to play a nationally ranked team when they should be playing the 4th team. It's not fair to anybody. So anyways, moving on.
Yes. Let's go to boys basketball, Logan. Starting the 5A Southern Idaho Conference. Owyhee 6-0 in the league, 12-3 overall. They're still the favorites at the top. My question to you is, who's going to take second? Because we've got
Brandon. I don't know. This league behind Owyhee is wild, because I saw Timberline take care of business against Middleton a couple weeks ago, and came away thinking Middleton might drop down a little bit. Maybe they're not there, and maybe this is the time for Timberline. And they come out and then they lose to Centennial the next night, and then Middleton beats Mountain View, who we just had talked about having a dramatic victory over Meridian, right, with a tip-in at the buzzer. So I mean, even all the way down, the league is a mess. There are a lot of teams hanging in there. I mean, right, Meridian 6-2, Timberline's 5-2, Centennial's 4-2, Mountain View is 4-2, and then the teams with 3 losses: Eagle, Boise, Middleton, and Cuna. There are 2/3 of the league is within 1 game of each other. So who knows?
Current standings: Owyhee 6-0, Meridian 6-2, Timberline 5-2, Centennial and Mountain View each 4-2, Eagle and Boise each 4-3, Middleton and Cuna each 3-3, and even Capital at 2-4 is only 2 games back of second place. Really, Rocky Mountain, Nampa, Bora are the only teams that aren't really factors in this race. I think I will say the team that ends up taking second place, I'm going to say, is Mountain View. I think Mountain
View.
They've already passed a lot of the big tests. They've already played Owyhee. They beat Meridian.
Good point.
They do have, they did have the loss to Middleton, which, was a tight game, 48-43. But if they can take care of business here down the stretch, they play Timberline on Friday night. That'll be a huge game at Timberline. They will play Centennial the following Friday at Centennial. So if Mountain View can go on the road and take care of a couple of games, I like the Mavs.
I like the winner of that game Friday, Mountain View and Timberline. I think if Timberline wins it, that puts them in the driver's seat. They do have to play Owyhee, but they get Owyhee on Saturday at home. So they get them at home. And if an upset's going to happen, it's going to come from a disciplined team that knows how to move the ball. And I like Timberline in that regard. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm just saying they have the recipe to cause an upset at home. And then the favorable schedule down the stretch. They got Rocky Mountain and Bora still left on the schedule. Boise, also a good team, but, you could be playing more of those 2-loss teams. So I like Timberline's options if they're able to beat Mountain View tomorrow night.
That'll help because the very next night, Timberline hosts Owyhee, and you figure that'll be a loss probably. So they would need to beat Mountain View to be tied in the loss column. And so, I also like Meridian if one of these teams should stumble, because Meridian basically has only lost to Owyhee and Mountain View. So, I think it is going to be very interesting. I think for boys basketball this year, the SIC gets 6 teams to state. I think you can pretty much bookmark that. I don't see a second team from North Idaho or East Idaho, if we're being honest, that'll challenge the SIC here. So,
I mean, you look at the non-conference schedule, like Timberline and Middleton specifically, they played a lot of the same teams, and they beat Thunder Ridge, Highland, and Rigby, both of them. So they took out everybody else besides Madison, who is the top dog over there. And And those are your quote middle of the road SIC teams, right? And that have already taken care of business over there. So, like you said, I agree there, and could be a very heavy SIC crowd here at the state tournament in a couple weeks.
I mean, that means at least 2 of the 4 first round matchups are going to be, SIC teams going head to head.
Rematches.
So that'll be a lot of fun for sure. 4A SIC, Logan, Bishop Kelly is on an all-time heater here. They are 10-4 overall, 6-0 in the league. They just beat in the last week the 2 teams that were quote unquote the biggest challengers to them, Ridgeview and Skyview. They beat Ridgeview 69-57. Luke Caldwell had 18 points. Will Green finished with 11. And then they demolished Skyview this week, 87-31. Caldwell with 26 points. Will Green had 11. Owen Kane had 12. Holy mackerel. No, Bishop Kelly is red hot.
That's not their first 50-point victory either in conference this year. I mean, they beat Emmett they beat them by 58. Like they smashed them. And it's really funny. So I saw Bishop Kelly at the Capital Classic. Now this, looking back, this is a team that your football team won the state championship. It is common to see that, especially at smaller schools, where a team that wins a state championship is slow to start the basketball season, right? Because you just, at least at the smaller schools, most everybody on your basketball team plays football too. That's not the case at BK. There is some crossover, but you're just not there yet. And they play, they lost to Post Falls, they lost to Lewiston, they lost to Centennial. They started off the year a little bit groggy, and then it's like they lost to Mountain View, and then they woke up, it seems, after that in mid-December, and they have not lost since then, and that includes a win over Eagle. They beat Eagle by almost 20 points. One of those teams that's sitting at the top of the 5A SIC, right? This is a team, I mean, their losses come to 5A schools, right? Mountain View, Centennial, Lewiston, Post Falls, all 5A schools who they've fallen to. This is a team that's getting hot at the right time. And we talked about it with football, right? We didn't know if the SIC was strong enough to carry Bishop Kelly. And man, Brandon, you became some bulletin board material for Bishop Kelly. They called you out left and right. I'm not getting on their bad side. But I really thought Ridgeview, I've seen Ridgeview play this year too. I thought they were going to be the ones to come out at least on top. I still think they come out and get to state for the first time. They got so many giants down low, like Tucker Tiddens, Bowles down there as well. But Bishop Kelly was able to squash that and win. And right now it's all in the Knights' favor.
Yeah. Now Tiddens did go for 21 points in that loss to Bishop Kelly, and it was, somewhat close, single digits. The rematch comes at the very end of the regular season on Valentine's Day, I believe, February 14th at BK. I agree.
Go to the game.
I agree. It's BK. It's Ridgeview. I will double down on my stance from football. And I will say Bishop Kelly is good, but that league is it's not as strong as the other leagues. And
it's not as strong.
I just don't know. And here's the big reason for basketball. We've got Pocatello baseball coach Vinny Benavidez in the chat here. Pokey and Hillcrest are as good as anyone. 5A through 1A, just say. And that's the thing. That's the thing. I don't see BK matching up well with a Hillcrest or a Pocatello or a Preston, even if Preston is the team that gets
there. And that is not the knock on BK. That is, those teams over there are unbelievable. Like that Hillcrest team, Preston, Pocatello, there's a reason that the state championship has been the same game 2 years in a row, right? It's been Preston and it's been Hillcrest, or Pocatello and Hillcrest back-to-back years. Preston's won it like 5 of the previous 6 years before that all got going. Hillcrest is, gosh, man, it's just, they're just so good. And so is Pocatello and so is Preston. I don't think it's different than football, where there was, maybe not a clear-cut number one, right? That there was some wiggle room there. I don't think there's any wiggle room with who the best teams in 4A are right now.
Yeah, and Hillcrest did beat Preston last night, only by 9. So again, Hillcrest, Preston, Pokey,
Just
all three really good.
Hillcrest is so good. I mean, it's just like when you got a player like Isaac Davis who can just do whatever he wants when he's down there. It's hard. And that's where maybe a team like Ridgeview could match up well because they've got big bodies down low that maybe could push back. I will say, I told you this, Brandon. My son, he helped me film. His name's Owen. He helped me film some BK games at the Capital Classic, and he loves BK because they had Owen Kane, so his first name, and then Will Green, his last name. So he's like, hey, look, those two guys are me. So he always, how's Owen doing? How's Green doing it? So it's kind of funny. He's got some heroes out there.
Yeah, it's cool.
For BK.
So yes, Bishop Kelly will get to state, and then from there we'll see. I just don't know that their league schedule will prepare them adequately enough for what they're going to see with Hillcrest and Pocatello and Preston at state. Okay, so we always like to use Pocatello and Preston as the example of it. We should expand state tournaments, right? Between Pokey and Preston, a really good team is going to be stuck at home. Well, we are seeing it in spades in the Treasure Valley in the 2A Western Idaho Conference, where Cole Valley Christian is 9-0, Ambrose is 8-2, Melba is 6-4, New Plymouth and Nampa Christian are both 5-4. So you're talking about 3 or 5 teams that are within 2 games of each other for second place. 4 of the 5 continue to be ranked in both the media poll and the coaches poll. I do think we're getting some separation here, though. I do think it's Cole Valley Christian and Ambrose are kind of in a tier. And then I do think there's a little bit of a drop with Melba and New Plymouth and Nampa Christian.
But here's the thing. Last night, Melba and Ambrose wins that game by 1 point.
Right.
Cole Valley Christian only beats New Plymouth by 4, right? Those are 2 close games. And like we said, like the District 5 4A loves to champion that. Somebody got left out, but somebody is going to get left out of the tournament that is in the top 5 here, right? And they like to say, well, there's we got 2 teams in the top 5. Somebody's getting left out. Somebody's getting left out here, and somebody's going to have to go to a play-in game to get in from the league. At one point, all 5 of the top 5 in the 2A were from the WIC, just straight down the list. You just circled, you know how like some ballots you can do just straight party ticket. That's what the 2A poll looks like. It's give me just 2A WIC straight ticket. These are good teams, all right, and somebody could. I really think that somebody in this group could win a state championship that's going to be left out. Like they could. Again, I'm not saying they would be the favorite and they would win it every time, but New Plymouth, right? They're sitting at 5-4 in conference. Their only 4 losses come in conference, and they were a couple baskets away from winning that game against Cole Valley Christian last night. Like, there's no reason that they couldn't get hot and make a couple extra shots and make their way to a state championship game, but could be left at home because of the way the representation works.
Yeah, they have lost. New Plymouth has lost to Cole Valley by 9, and then they lost last night by 4 on IdahoSports.com. They beat Nampa Christian by 6 in overtime on Monday night. This league is tough. Are you ready for the hot take, Logan? 3 teams that'll get to state from the WIC. I've got Ambrose, because they're just battle tested and they've dug deep and they've found a way to win those close games. Ken Sugarman is a veteran coach. He's done this before. He's taken Ambrose to heights. I think Melba gets a spot to state. You just look at the athletes that they have, and they are figuring it out. And they are another team that's got pedigree and history and a good veteran coach in Spencer Trappett. The third team that gets in, New Plymouth. Jeff Lavender is one of the best coaches in the WIC. He always finds a way to take C+ players and turn them into B- players. He gets every ounce out of those kids. And I think they find a way to get to state, which means I've got Cole Valley, the number 1 team.
Undefeated Cole Valley team is left out. You hear that, Connor Jackson? Hits a personal jab at you.
The team whose sweatshirt I'm wearing, I've got them out because
take that off, Brennan. You don't deserve it. Okay, here, but I could. It's so tough. It could, like you say that, and on paper you say absolutely not. That is a hot take. But you look at it and you say Why not? Like, all it takes is one good night and you're done, or one off night. And like you said with Melba, they've got Cutter Buse. If you haven't heard out there, guess how many rebounds the guy had? Not 10, not 20, not 30. He had 37 rebounds last night. Who has 37 rebounds in a game? That is unbelievable.
Correct.
Like that guy's gonna clean up every miss down there. You're not gonna get second chance points against Melba. You're gonna have to make your shots because Cutter Buse is gonna steal all the rebounds. He's not gonna give you a chance, and so that's dangerous in a state tournament. That's a team that lost last year. They had the lead against Bear Lake in the first half, and they got a really sour taste in their mouth after what happened last year. And I'm sure they want to wash that out at the Idaho Center this year. And so watch out for them when they've got the athletes there. They could be a dangerous team.
Yeah, I think with Melba, and so Cutter Buse, correct me if I'm wrong, he had 37 points and 37 rebounds, right?
Yeah, I think it broke a record that had stood for almost 30 years in terms of rebounds there. Just phenomenal.
Melba, send that in to us. We're working on a record book. I don't know if you heard that or not, but we'll take
rebounds
that for
in a game. That's got to be up there. That's got to be up there.
That's insane. So, and Cutter Buse is tall, right? He's 6'8". And what is ironic is that Cash Buse, by him leaving Melba and transferring to Skyview, it has opened a door for his cousin. Cutter is his cousin, to step in and be the Mustangs quarterback during the football season, and now kind of step in and be that alpha guy that they're leaning on the basketball court. And so I think Cutter says, I wouldn't trade places with Cash because Skyview's kind of doing this.
I'm going to state. Here. I don't know about you.
Yeah. So it's just funny how these things all affect each other. But we do have Gary in the chat. He was on the call for last night's Coal Valley Christian game. He says, what surprised me about Coal Valley was they're not very tall, but they're very athletic and can shoot the three. And that's what I worry about is shooting comes and goes sometimes. You get into a district game, and the more that Coal Valley continues to remain undefeated, the tighter the pressure gets. All these other teams have tasted defeat, and they go, okay, we know how to bounce back from that. But the team that comes in undefeated has the biggest target. Every game gets tighter and tighter and tighter, and shooting comes and goes. You've got to be able to rebound and defend. And Melba, New Plymouth, and Ambrose can do that.
And you see this, right, in the NCAA tournament. If you can shoot the three, you can pull the upset. But at the same time, if you rely on the three and it's not there, you're going down. And so, but Coal Valley is obviously, that hasn't happened yet, right? So why would it happen? We're not saying it's going to happen. Just, it just takes one bad night, one defensive in your face effort from your opponent, and all of a sudden things change. And so, we hope that they continue it up. They deserve it based on what they've done so far. It just stinks that somebody is not going to go. It just stinks.
Coal Valley won by 15 plus over Nampa Christian, and then they beat Nampa Christian again by 9. They swept the series with New Plymouth. They won by 9, and then they won by 4 last night. And they still have one matchup each with Melba and Ambrose at Melba next Wednesday. Home against Ambrose Wednesday, February 7th to wrap up the regular season. They beat Ambrose by 3 in overtime. They beat Melba pretty convincingly, 74-58 the first go round, but that was right after the holiday break on January 5th. So I'm really excited to see that rematch next Wednesday in Melba.
Yeah, it's I feel like if anybody in the Treasure Valley has not been in a funk the last 2 weeks, and honestly in the state of Idaho, let me know what you're doing to not, because it was weird. Like, it snowed, everybody was out of school. Like, the school week was only half the week, and the next week everybody was out. It was Martin Luther King Day, so people were off, and then it snowed. It's been a funky couple of weeks here. So yeah, like you said, right out of the Christmas break, that's always tough. So it should be fun to see maybe how the script could flip, and this is going to be one of the best races down the stretch. It just sucks that somebody's not going to be there.
And I have a feeling that IdahoSports.com will be there to document a lot of these impactful games along the way. Of course, you can always click on the game streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com to see what we're broadcasting statewide, which leads me to wrap up, Logan, because you have got to hit the road. You're going to Lapway tonight for History in the Making on IdahoSports.com.
And this is one, like I've gotten even a couple text messages from people that I know that knew I was going up there, saying, "Hey, can you send me the link? Because if you like Idaho high school basketball, you're going to want to tune in tonight. It's going to be 7:30 Pacific, 8:30 Mountain. Case, why not 6 points? So his 6th point will be the new record. Is that correct?
Yes, he is 5
He's
from
5
tying.
from tying, 6
Yes.
from taking the lead. He will own outright the Idaho all-time high school scoring record. I need to like script this so I know exactly what I say when he hits it. The all-time Idaho high school. You write that for me, Brandon.
I think
I'm just kidding.
no. See, as a broadcaster, I think you just go with the moment.
Just the title of it. Like I don't want to say high school scoring. I want to make sure that the title is correct, right? The what he accomplished.
Yeah,
Like
this is
not the scoring. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, he's gonna break the all-time scoring record tonight. He dropped 68 points the other day. 6 points he'll get that before he steps on the court. Like, he is just that type of player. So if you want to watch it, we'll have it for you.
Yes. Little sports casting, nerddom here, but Jim Nantz called the Final Four for 30 years. And
yeah,
he would always script out what he was going to say at the end based on which team won. And it always sounded so corny, the Yukon Huskies, best in show. And it's like, that's so dumb.
Yes.
Don't do that. Don't do that, Logan.
No, I just want the, not like to say it, but like, so I can, after he's done, say exactly what he earned, like the official title, like the Heisman Trophy presentation. I want to say the trophy with the guy that's going like this. That's more of what I'm saying, like the official name of it, so that I don't look like a doofus.
Right.
But it's going to be awesome. I'm excited to be there. It should be fun to see him do that. Lapway is obviously one of the class programs of Idaho high school basketball. So you'll want to check it out. You'll want to at least stick around and see him do that. And I'm sure they'll have, I don't know, I think you and Ryan were talking about it. They'll probably take a timeout, I'm guessing, when he scores that, and maybe just give him a little recognition, and then they'll move on and they'll win another basketball game like they usually do.
Yeah, I could just hear it if Jim Nantz was doing this game, the chase for Case has concluded. It'd be something really corny like that. So
I will say, I thought, like, I get, okay, I'm an NC State fan, so I am a little salty towards Duke and Carolina. But when Villanova hit that shot to beat UNC in the national championship, I thought his call was crazy. He was like, phenomenal, yes, when he hit it. And like, I don't know how you script that, but I don't know if it was scripted or not. But it's just, I could watch that all day long.
Yeah.
It's almost better than your own team hitting it.
For sure.
Anyway, that's salty Logan talking. But.
Joel Richardson in the chat, another IdahoSports.com broadcaster. You'll nail it. Remember the 99-yard fumble TD call off the cuff? That was Butte County, right?
Yeah. It's really funny because right before the play, me and Joel were talking on the air. We're like, well, this could decide a championship. And sure enough, it did. So that was a fun game to call for their first championship.
Yeah, Logan, you've been working really hard all year long, and I'm so glad that you get to be on all of these exciting moments for IdahoSports.com. I know you're going to nail it, and you're going to do great tonight. So looking forward to it.
I hope so.
Yep. So yeah, you can tune into that, and of course, we've got other basketball going on tonight as well. You can see it all by clicking on the Game Streams tab on the homepage at IdahoSports.com. Drive safe, my friend, and enjoy the competition this weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Treasure Valley Prepcast presented by No Vape Idaho on IdahoSports.com.